Good morning. I'm the Reverend Dr. William L. Johnson III here with our morning meditation. Yes, one more morning meditation. It's exciting to be able to inspire and encourage each other as we journey along the way. Today's morning meditation is entitled The Spaces in Between. The Spaces in Between. After a conversation with a good friend of mine, we talked about the dynamics of what life brings our way. We talk about what happens between now and our destiny or the places where we want to go, the now and the then, or when we're looking for the promotion, but we're working in a space until we get there, or we're waiting for the love of our lives, but we know that what we want and we're looking for that, or waiting for the family or the child to come, or to find out where the move will be, or what's happening next in our lives between now and then, between here and there, what happens in the space in between. Many of us have found ourselves navigating between what we believe and what we know will happen and where we are right now, the journey yet still before us. Some years ago, I read a little story. It's in the Bible about David. David, a young, strong shepherd boy, the youngest son of his father Jesse, found himself tending to the sheep. And now there was going to be a changing of the guard. God was going to anoint him as the king of Israel while they still had a king in Saul, who was the first king of Israel. It's interesting that the story goes on, and I'm not trying to be preachy here, but as Samuel goes to Jesse's house under direction from God to be able to anoint the proper king, he has to call all of his sons before him. He calls all seven of David's older brothers, and he doesn't see one of them that God wants to anoint as the next king of Israel. And so Samuel asks, Jesse, do you have any other sons, any other children? He said, yes, my son David is out back, but he's tending to the sheep. Call him in here. And the moment he saw him, he knew that he was to be anointed. And here is where the plot twists. David is anointed to be king of Israel, but he ends up going back to being a shepherd boy. It doesn't happen automatically. It doesn't happen for years, and it doesn't happen without headache, without hardship, without having to be in opposition, without being chased almost to the point of an inch of his life. He has to go through so many trials to get to the place where he would be king, but yet he was anointed king long before he even got there. Many of us find ourselves in places in life where we are in between, the in between spaces, the space in between. What happens between where I know I'm going, where I am, and where I know I'm destined to be? In your life, in my life, we may find ourselves there. We may wonder what to do there. It is difficult in those moments, in the spaces in between. And in those spaces in between, it becomes imperative that we become constructive and productive rather than destructive or lack or non-productive or lack of productivity. It is in those moments where we cannot digress for the fact that life doesn't happen the way we want. We don't get what we need right away. Matter of fact, we don't get it over time. We don't get it without struggle. We don't get it without tears. And we certainly don't get it without loss. We don't know what the journey will be between now and then. We know next year will be here, but we don't know whether or not we'll see it, nor do we know whether or not the journey will be easy or more difficult. So, what do you do with the space in between? Well, let me share this with you. I think as I was writing some notes to myself, I thought it was really telling for me that in those moments that the space in between is a transitional process. It is a moment in which we are in transition, and sometimes that transition is quick, and sometimes it happens for years, maybe not for tens of years or over 20-year span, that you may not get to where you're trying to go or where you believe that you are going to go until it happens. And it takes a long time for some and a short time for others. So, what do you do with that space in between? How do you handle it in a way that you can stay open to the promise that you received, the promise that you believe, the promise that you'll get there? When you started out a school journey to try to go get that degree or to get that postgraduate degree, the moment that you start, you don't really see that what 3 years can be. It feels like a long time, that somehow after 3 years or after 4 years for that doctorate or after a time of trying hard to have a child and you're not making it. And then suddenly, in some way, not suddenly, but over time, this child emerges and you're raising them. Or the moment that your child is born, thinking that, wow, these years are going to take forever. The moments of running to soccer games or going to basketball games or going to parents' teacher conferences or being at the school or all those activities or going to the dance practices. All of that seems like it's forever until your kids one day are walking across a stage and they're adults now, and you're wondering how you got from here to there. It was the space in between. What you do in that space in between does matter. Let me give you some hints as you journey this week, and perhaps they might serve you for the rest of your life. Here are some things if you what to do to stay open in the space in between. First, you ought to always, always, always have hope. Keep hope. Cherish hope. Well, what is hope? Hope is when you get in moments, life will bring you to moments when what you think will happen seems like it has no chance of happening. It's like the NBA playoffs. You're down 3-0. It's never happened in the history of the game that a team has come back and won after being down 3 games to none. It seems like there are some impossible moments, but I'm so glad that life is not an NBA basketball game or a Major League Baseball game or a soap opera or a sitcom. It is not that way. There are miracles that are happening for us all around, but the only way they do happen is you always, always must cling to hope. You have to hope and have, as one president said, the audacity to hope. Hope takes you to the place when all else fails, your ability to do it, your physical strength, your mental acuity, your ability to move around, people around you, family, friends. When you don't have any of those resources around, you still have to have hope. So I'm hoping that in the midst of this, hey, no pun intended, that you will be able to grab hold to hope when you can't hold on to anything else. Hope is the thing that has driven many to the brink of now moving past failure to great success. Hope brought ancestors like mine while we celebrate Juneteenth from the place where they were in despair to a place that now I can sit and give this video. It was hope because it reminds us that if you can hope, it starts with our hearts and it goes to the heart of God. I don't know where it begins, really. I think hope is planted as a seed by God to keep us going while we don't see that which He has promised in coming into fruition, until we can get enough legs under us, enough strength under us to be able to see it come to pass. Hope. You also, in the space in between, need to have faith. Yes. What's the difference between hope and faith? Hope is the idea that, hey, I don't know if I got anything to stand on, but I'm going to stand here anyway and wait for that bus to come. On the odd chance that something may just happen, if I wait here long enough, if I look for it long enough, I will manifest that thing coming into being because I have hope. As an old song used to go, I have hope when trouble comes my way. I have hope that God has come to stay. Trials may find you at the end of your line. Just have hope. It's a beautiful hope that somehow God will be on time. But faith is something different. It is not simply being faithful. Faith is the measure of taking a leap, doing something, not just waiting as hope would bring it, but then doing something about what you believe. That means taking steps toward it. That means believing in it enough to build your life, prepare your life around the expectation of what would happen. It means to step out there and give your to it, which is why I love the story of David again. David then takes faith with him as he goes out to fight Goliath, the giant. Now, why did he think he could beat this giant who outmatched him in strength, had more equipment than he had more than he could ever imagine? Well, this is a little note for those who are the underdogs in the world, those who know that you don't have the money, don't have the looks, don't have the talent, don't have the strength, don't have the power, don't have the friends, don't have the connections. But if you can have faith, the faith that you know of what God promised you before, you can now live in it now. And David, when he went to fight Goliath, remembered that he was anointed to be king. And what was clear to him is that he was not king yet. He had not become king. So that either the giant had to fall or God had to bail and default on God's promise to him. That is what I'm trying to say to you. Trust what you've been promised. I know sometimes it feels like, well, maybe did God say that or did I make that up in my head? In your spirit, you know what you're here for. So go ahead and go with it. Step out on faith. Try it. You may not be aware. And faith is more than getting things or cars or promotions or those simple things. Faith is being able to trust that whatever you're doing, that God will be with you as you journey in it. And whatever you understood to be your destiny and your goal in the space in between, you won't die there. You'll have to get to the place where you're promised to be. Faith. Faith is that thing that uplifts us in the midst of our challenges. It is an active agent. It means that we have to engage in some way in order to see what it is that we are hoping to accomplish or experience. But while you're in the in-between place, you should just have hope. Yes, we should all have faith. And then we should have joy. In the spaces in between, you ought to laugh a little bit. I have some friends and some others who have gone through enough parts of the journey. But let me tell you a little about my stepmom. Her name is Janice. And Janice and I hit it off right away. I was 14 years old when I met Janice, and Janice, was a fun type of personality, matching my dad. He loved to engage and do things, but Janice was so fun. She liked to talk, laugh, curse a little bit around kids. It was great, but she was also very structured, very visionary, and had the biggest heart in the world. What Janice did for me was allow for me to see her as I saw my dad. My dad went through sickness and went through it, and he struggled with it, but he tried to stay focused as a man would. He died of cancer in 1997. Janice, years later, became the other side of my dad because I got a chance to spend a lot of time with her. And in those years, all she could do is still, while crying her tears, also laugh and keep us all filled with joy. In her last years, with struggling with her bout of cancer, she found herself still giving us all these moments of joy. She said, listen, I know this thing is going to take me out, but it doesn't have to take me out. I'm taking it out with me. I'm going to enjoy my life in the meantime, in the in-between spaces. I'm going to laugh with the people I'm laughing with. I'm going to love the people I'm loving. I'm going to learn as much as I can learn. I'm going to engage people and leave a legacy of joy. I'm encouraging you that don't let the day get you down. Don't let the clouds or the gloom or the difficulty or grief or hardship or broken heart or even broken dreams sideline your joy. You grab your joy and you don't let anybody take it away from you. The old church people I grew up with, my home people, the old church people, the old mothers and fathers, as they would say, would sing it this way: this joy that I have, the world didn't can give it, and the world can't take it away. In other words, my friends, keep your joy. I mean, no matter what, hold on to your joy. And if you have to protect it, stir it up, shake it up, and pour it out into a glass and drink it whole. I want you to make sure every day you find something that gives you joy. Maybe a call from your kids, maybe looking at a flower, maybe watching a bird do what it does. I want to remind you to have joy just as the birds do. You know, outside my window right here in my office, is a family of cardinals. There a mama cardinal, a daddy cardinal, and some baby cardinals. And I see them, and they come by to see me every so often. And it seems like they can't stop singing their song. They don't ask whether or not they're going to get to their goal. They don't ask whether or not they're going to have enough to eat for the day. They don't ask whether or not tomorrow or the end of the week is going to work out for them. What they do is sing their song in the middle of the day because life is filled with joy and you ought to sing it. None of us know what is going to lie behind the next hour or the next day or the next week or the next month, but nobody can take away your joy if you choose to hold on to it. Find the joy in the day. And I promise you, if you look for joy, you'll find God. If you look for God, you'll find joy. You'll find something to have joy about, and you'll hold on to it in the in between spaces. In the spaces in between, keep your hope, keep your faith, keep your joy. And you'll discover that the journey will be just as giving, so much more loving, and in something that is giving to you as much as the end of the journey might be. Whatever that is, you'll discover joy is the secret, faith is the secret, hope is the secret to keeping you open in the spaces in between. Anyway, so thank you so much for joining us for our morning meditation. We hope this meditation finds you, meets you where you are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, whatever you're experiencing, and will bring life and joy and peace to you. I want you to know you're loved because you are loved. You are loved, you're appreciated, and you're irreplaceable. That's the fact. And I want you to know that as you leave and go through the course of the day, or if you journey from this moment, come back and revisit this message. Share it with someone else and tell them in the spaces in between, you got to hold on to your hope. Make sure you embrace your faith and live with joy. Have a good one. Take care. Have a great week. Have a great life indeed. Take care.